Hey guys.
See you again. Very good to see you.
I didn't get a copy.
See you guys.
I can't reach
We get there pretty good.
How are you?
Good. In case you can't remember me.
I got it.
Okay, you want me to open up? Okay, okay, seeing that it's after 7:30, call the joint meeting between the Holbrook and Avon Board of Selectmen to order. And just as a reminder, this is a follow-up to a meeting that we held on August 8th, where we had a joint meeting over in Avon. And we voted at the time to file a joint application to DESC for a grant to study the pros and cons of regionalization, and that motion passed. But we did agree at the time that we would meet one more time when the package was ready and the, or at least when there was a draft ready, to review it collectively, and just if anybody has any comments about it, we could discuss amending it and just incorporating any comments. So that, Frank, is that sort of fair backdrop? So before we go any further, though, I'd like to have a citizens' concern session, open it up with that. So I'll ask now if there are any citizen concerns in the audience. Please raise your hand, identify yourself, and state your concern. Karen?
Karen Sandro. My concern is the same as it was at the last meeting, that the boards of selectmen seem to be overstepping their bounds and disregarding town meeting votes and the will of the town meeting members. I think it would make more sense to put another vote out to town meeting. Do you want to study regionalization? And if people have changed their minds, or if there are new people as town meeting members and they vote for it, that's one thing. But a vote was taken, throwing that out the window and doing what you want to do. And Chairman Gordon, you said at the last meeting that lots of people want to do something, but you want to do the right thing. What makes your idea so right and everyone else wrong?
Any other citizens' concerns before Matt, did you have it?
No, I just wanted to address the letter from the Avon Finance Committee. But you can answer one question.
Yeah, I'll just respond to that. I think we know the history of the last town meetings in November, how there was an article to create a regional study committee, and it failed in both communities by a small margin. And I think, as we discussed at the last meeting, if we wanted to return to the town meeting with another vote to create a regional study committee, we would be better serving the towns and the town meetings to bring more information to the meeting. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has grants that allow for the study of regionalization, and we voted in August to jointly apply for one of those grants. Frank, do you want to add that?
No, I think
With the intent of bringing it back to town meeting, of course, once the study is complete.
this,
Go ahead, Frank.
this would be a fact-finding report just to present to both towns the feasibility and whether it is feasible to even go further studying this. This would be the initial step, long before you would get a regional planning committee set. This would give them the background to take this information and go forward with it.
People might not be aware, so on August 30th, there was a letter from the Avon Finance Committee to the Avon Board of Selectmen here before us. And it's a lengthy letter.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, it's a lengthy letter that talks about, you know, the process and how, you know, our meeting in August, similar to what you said, Karen, kind of thumbs its nose at the expression from town meeting members in both communities. But it also, you know, alludes to the fact that, you know, there doesn't seem to be a full cooperation with the school committees, with the finance committee, and there's a lot there, so I didn't know if it's appropriate for, you know, the board to respond. It's obviously a one-sided letter from, you know, one group, and I'm not sure how that is being taken by Avon.
I mean, certainly, as you said, that is the opinion of the Finance Committee of the Town of Avon. Certainly respect that. I'm not sure if any of us have all the information that we need to make this decision moving forward. You know, to restate the facts, both town meetings kind of said it wasn't the best thing to do. I do personally believe that information is the valuable tool right here. And I think the grant may be one of the ways to gather more information. You know, I think by reviewing the grant application that was put forth as a draft with, I know not everyone has an opportunity to read the narrative, but the narrative does give some tasks that certainly are helpful if the grant is awarded to us, I guess is the correct word. So it's not like somebody just says, here's a bunch of money, now what are you gonna do with it? Whoever prepared this did say basically a good idea of what they were gonna try to do with the money. And I think, you know, on the positive side, neither town is obligated to anything that this grant comes up as recommendations. I think that's probably one of the things that everyone has to keep repeating.
For me, looking at the letter, reading the letter, it just doesn't seem that the Board of Selectmen in Avon had the full support of one of the biggest committees in town. And that could be one person's opinion. I don't know who authored the letter, but it sounded like it was a collective, in collective agreement by that committee.
It has, you know, the fact that a town meeting previously voted that they weren't interested, and I was at that town meeting in Avon, at this time, to regionalize with Holbrook, and then Holbrook's town meeting after that vote was left with no real entity to form a regionalization planning committee with as a result of the Avon town meetings, has nothing to do with this. This is merely getting information, and out of respect for town meeting, understanding that the town meeting is the entity that would have to weigh in on this, should there ever be a regionalization planning committee to be formed,
They weighed in.
and provide that
You haven't been
body
recognized.
with information. The purpose of the project will be to study the pros and cons of a regional school district with various grade configurations between the towns of Avon and Holbrook.
My question to the Board of Selectmen is, how do you justify moving forward without the respective school committee's support? That's my that's a big concern. I think that you're imposing a study on a department that is going to have to be cooperative, but I don't see too many people from the school committees here. So I'm curious to know how you justify going forward with this based on that show of non-support.
I think, I'll go first, then, Frank. We will need support from the school committee and from the superintendents, I believe, in order to really be successful in this effort. However, our timeframes here are really tight. This grant application is due on Friday, and you know, we want to get this in and then move forward with the grant, and then in hopes that we'll also at the same time be able to gather some support among the school committees.
Would just add to that that I agree completely with the gentleman that spoke, and information can be utilized to bring people together as well. And I think that we should, after this meeting, even though that there was a short time frame, we should be absolutely reaching out to the school committees and the superintendents and the finance committees